we're live on YouTube. Go through the
Okay, all right,
call and
okay,
hopefully
all right. You'll let me know when we're live. Okay,
we are live on YouTube.
all right, very good. Aloha mai kako. My name is Don Chang. I am co-chair of the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission, better known as CCMAC. My co-chair is Mary Alice Evans, who I believe is recovering. She may not be feeling well. So I'm just going to go over some public meeting protocols before we start. We are holding this meeting as a hybrid meeting. Some of us are in person in the Kalani Moku boardroom in Honolulu. We're also holding this meeting remotely via Zoom, and it can be watched live on YouTube. So before speaking, if you could state your name and identify yourself for the record. Our first item on our agenda is we're going to take roll call. And I'll just go, do you want to do the roll call? I have the list. Okay, okay. So Chair Chang, I'm here. Director of OPSD, is anybody? Mary Alice isn't here. Chair of the Senate Agriculture Environmental.
I don't think any of our legislators are able to join us today.
I saw Mike Gabbard. His office is there.
Yeah.
Okay. So none of the legislators are here. Do we have anybody from HTA?
Oh, yes, I just wanted to say I am here, Meg, on behalf of Senator Mike Gabbard, Meg Turner.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody from Senator Lorraine Inouye's office? No. Anyone from Representative Nicole Lowen's office? Anyone from Representative Linda Ichiyama's office? Okay, do we have anybody from HTA present?
Yeah, we do. Daniel.
Aloha, this is Daniel.
Oh, good to see you, Daniel. Thank you. Anyone from DOT? Okay.
Laura Kakua is here.
Is she?
From DOT, yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Laura. And we have Diana with DOH. Very good. Department of Education. City and County of Honolulu, DPP.
Aloha, good afternoon. Matt Gonzer on behalf of Director Don Apuna from City and County of Honolulu.
Very good. Thank you. Nice to see you, Matt. Maui County DPP, Department of Planning. Oh, yes.
It's a Kate Blystone, Planning Director.
Thank you,
for Maui
Sean.
County.
And thank you both for being here in person. Okay. Hawaii Island Department of Planning. That I saw Zendo.
Aloha, Zendo Kern here, Planning Director.
Thank you. And in person, Kauai Department of Planning.
Hello.
Good to see you, Kaya. Chair, Department of Ag. Is that Chair Hurd?
I am here, Dawn.
Thank you so
there.
much, Sharon. Nice to hear your voice. Do I have someone from OHA? Did I see Stacy Ferreira? Okay. DHHL. Katie? Thank you.
Aloha here.
Nice to see you. Someone from the Adjutant General Hauer's office?
What I saw.
Ima. Is that Don?
Don.
Yeah, Don here.
Very good. Thank you, Don. CZM.
Don't believe so.
Okay. Director of DBED. All right.
Mark, you're on mute.
Mark Lipp. Okay.
You're on mute, Mark.
Sorry about that. Mark Lick here. On behalf
Very
of Shane Tokioka, Director DBED.
Thank you so much. We have quorum. Did I miss anybody that's on the? Go ahead. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you.
Aloha, everyone. Laura Kaakua from Hawai'i Department of Transportation.
Thank you so much for joining us. Anybody else? Okay. And so we have quorum?
We have quorum. Yeah.
Excellent.
And all the designees and commissioners, please keep your cameras on. That's the requirement for hybrid meetings is if you can keep your cameras on, especially during decision making. Much
Okay.
appreciated. Thank you.
And let's introduce staff. Leah?
Hello, everybody. Leah Laramie. I am the Hawaii State Climate Coordinator, and with me helping today is Gabrielle Sandoval and James Francucci. We also have our Outreach Special Bill and Jonathan Lance. We also have Amy Works in the office here too from Office of Conservation and Coastal Land. Online, we have Ubi Nano Butler, and we also have Jennifer Vanderpool, our CC Map Program Specialist and Grant Specialist.
Okay. Excellent. We've got a full house and a full agenda. So let's go on to item 2. This is,
We need to announcements. first.
oh, okay. All right. Are there any announcements?
And that's Kenny Loeb, I think, is here for an announcement, and Michael, they're calling one or more. Sorry, Paul.
If you can raise your hand and then we'll just call upon you. Is that, and I am so sorry, I can't see that far. Is that Kate?
Kenny.
Ketty? Go ahead, Ketty.
Aloha, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to the commission for having us on today to make this announcement. My name is Ketty Loeb. I am a faculty member with the Institute for Sustainability and Resilience at the UH Manoa. And I'm here with my colleague also from UH. There's Colin waving at you, Dr. Colin Moore. We're really excited to share with you that we are about to launch a next round of our survey that we can, similar to the one we conducted last year for policymakers. This time we'll be conducting a survey on risk perceptions and policy preferences that will be targeted at all the state and county agency staff. And so it will be a number of the same questions, but a few more technical questions. We're going to be launching it in at the end, second half of this month, so probably the week of the 17th. And we would like to request the help of the folks in this room or online, directors and agency leads to help us get the word out about the survey. And if you're willing to help us push the survey out to your staff. We think that the findings of the survey will be very interesting to all of you on this call. So would greatly appreciate your help. I will reach out to Leah when we're about to launch the survey. And I'll also be reaching out to you folks, directors, et cetera, to give you some more information. Happy to let you look at the survey in advance. And again, we will be launching it in the second half of this month. Colin, anything to add?
I think you said it great. We'd really appreciate your help. Thanks so much for the time.
No, thank you, Ketty. We look forward to coordinating with Leah. And will we get the results? When do you anticipate the results of your survey?
I think the survey will probably run for a month, and hopefully we'll get enough responses that we'll be able to, start analyzing and have some report written up this fall, probably in September, October.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Anything else you want to add on that?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
No, appreciate that. Do you have any other announcements? Okay. All right. Let's move on to item 2, which is an action item. It is the approval of the
Oh, sorry, the February
February 7th, 2024 meeting minutes. I hope you've had an opportunity to review them. Do you have any questions or comments?
We did receive comments from DHL, which have been incorporated.
All right. Were they substance that requires an amendment, or did you,
No.
oh, they were incorporated?
They were incorporated after the fact, but it was nothing substantive.
All right. Okay.
Technical.
Is that Nancy? Your hand is up? Thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Okay, thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for getting the comments in advance. So seeing no other hands up, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 7th, 2024?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 7th, 2024. Do you do a roll call vote on the first one? We can just, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Great. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is legislative update. It's a non-action item. Do we have Gabby? You're going to make a short presentation?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have.
Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So
Okay.
just a quick legislative update on some bills from this past session. So to start with, a couple of bills that did not pass this session, we had Senate Bill 2525, also known as the Carbon Cashback Bill. This would work to disincentivize fossil fuel usage by redistributing the increased barrel tax to Kama'aina. The rebates would be higher than the increased costs for the majority of residents, but there were concerns about increasing taxes during the current cost of living crisis and equity concerns about the timing of the distribution. And this was deferred in January of the session. The next bill that did not pass the session was Senate Bill 3095, or its companion bill, House Bill 2406, which was the climate fund. So that was the $25 tourist tax to increase the deposit into the Climate Health and Environmental Action Special Fund. And this stayed in the Senate in late March of this session.
Okay.
Some bills that were passed include House Bill 2390 and its companion bill, Senate Bill 3079, which required the Public Utilities Commission to consider the effect of the state's reliance on fossil fuels and give them the discretion to waive the life cycle greenhouse gas assessment for energy projects that didn't involve any combustion. And Senate Bill 2575, which created the Hawai'i Seabed Mining Prevention Act and will prohibit the issuing of permits for the removal of minerals. However, there are provisions in the act that make sure it will not be construed to prohibit scientific research and will also not diminish, alter, or amend any existing rights, coverages, or practices of the native Hawaiian. More bills that passed this session include House Bill 2685, now Act 40, which adds to Section 196 of the Hawaii Revised Statute to establish the Solar Hawaii Program, which is meant to provide multifamily residential property owners the opportunity to invest in the Solar Hawaii Investment Fund, making them eligible to receive financial incentives for installing solar energy systems. Another one is HR 30, which requests the Climate Commission to work with the Department of Transportation on strategies and recommendations to reduce vehicle miles traveled. And the third is SR 87, which requests the Climate Commission to conduct and implement in coordination with the Department of Health an educational program on how individual activities can contribute to climate change. And those are some progress reports on the bills from this past 2024 legislative session.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabby.
Are there any other bills that we may have missed that folks would like to highlight?
I would just add that it wasn't a climate focused bill, but the Senate Bill 3202 that had everybody in the brouhaha was the housing bill that allowed accessory units, subdivisions. Obviously not a climate bill, but it increases density in all of our urban areas.
Right.
There was a hatch out when I think all the counties are very supportive. We were very supportive, but there's a stub out for all the counties to make an analysis for climate type of threats and hazards, whereby it would proactively say, while we are increasing the density in the urban footprint, the county need to take a proactive step to identify hazards, including climate hazards, to say this isn't where the increase in density will occur. So it's something we all have to do.
Yeah.
Just to put on the radar.
No, that's very helpful. And I would say increasing density definitely has a pretty direct
Yeah.
connection.
It's like, is that Matt? Your hand is up, Matt. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And I regret I don't recall the bill or the act number at this point, but want to acknowledge a new financing mechanism that's been unlocked, really led by the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority. This notion of commercial property assessed clean energy and resilience financing. And there's perhaps most applicability for Oahu and the building stock that we have here, but this is another important tool and an option for those that are looking for proactive ways to address issues in their own facilities, whether it's wind, fire sprinklers, energy efficiency, et cetera. So excited for that new program and excited for the state to take all of the lead on it.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Anyone else want to report on any bills, resolutions that might have from your department or your agency? Okay, seeing no hands. Oh, Sharon, Chair Hurd, go ahead.
Yeah, you might remember it. It was House Bill 1900, and the title of it was relating to hydrogeologic collection of data. It was going to collect every 15 seconds wind, moisture, data like that. And I just checked it. It didn't move past the Senate, House Bill 1900. So maybe we can track it for next year. It was a priority for a couple of the departments. It was called Relating to Hydrologic Data Collection. Mesonet was the one that would be funded by it. Let me look at Senate Bill 2914, which was the companion. One moment, sorry. Yeah, this bill never made it. So I would like to suggest that we track a similar bill to House Bill 1900 next year.
Okay.
Would have been very helpful to farming and transportation and weather. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chair Hurd. Anyone else like to provide an update? Okay, seeing no hands, let's move on to item 4, Commission member updates on climate change initiative. So I'll just first open it up to the floor. Does anybody, or else I can go down the list, but anybody have something that they just can't wait to share with us? This is only Wednesday. I'm running on very low energy, but nothing. Okay.
I can say that for Kauai, where our long range division is still eyeballs deep in the climate adaptation and action plan. We've done all the outreach in the beginning and done all our studies. We anticipate having our first draft in-house by the end of this month, and going out back to the community open houses and say, oh, we're gonna do an internal draft with all the agencies, and then out to all the community outreach, a second round of community outreach meetings from August till October, and kind of have them really ping at what the community feels is wrong with the draft. Take all those comments, synthesize it, and we hope to have that final draft up and ready for either council action or executive order, say November or December.
Wow, That's pretty impressive. I mean, you guys are moving that quickly on this.
We hope to.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
I can give updates from
Okay.
Department of Health.
Okay.
Just a few, and I apologize, I don't have Clean Air Branch's latest information about greenhouse gas inventories, but I'll make sure to get those to the group. Otherwise, for our climate change and health program, we are collaborating with a number of the county resiliency offices on a heat awareness campaign. Recently put together a very nice trifold brochure that's getting printed and will be distributed hopefully at every available opportunity about risk of heat-related illness and how to protect yourself and your family members. In addition, the Department of Health, a team from the Department of Health is working towards a potential climate change and health 2-day conference for the fall. Still in the early planning stages, but we're really hoping that shapes up nicely, and that's being done in conjunction with our climate change and health working group. And final thing you'll hear more about later, which is our statewide climate and health vulnerability assessment.
Great. I'm sure everybody's got something to share, so I'm just going to go right through the list. So let me see. Meg Turner from Senator Gabbard's office. Do you have anything you want to share?
Oh, thank you. No, that's okay. I think you all covered it already in your presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Daniel, do you have anything updates from HTA?
No, we're waiting to review the what is it, the policies. I think Rosie was going to send a new version. I think that's the only thing we're doing right now, besides supporting the green business programs.
Okay. The policies.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was I going to say? Guidance documents, impact of tourism on climate resilience.
Okay.
Oh, that's a Honolulu one. Sorry, that's not a state one. Sorry, Matt.
That's okay. Still worth mentioning. Okay.
That's what we're doing then. We're reviewing the Honolulu Climate Change Commission's impact of tourism on climate resilience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Laura, did you have anything you want to report from DOT?
Sure. I guess my first update will be that I'll be joining you folks for this commission. Melissa Miranda Johnson's passing the baton, so I'll be sitting in for Director Sniffen. And we have a lot of updates here. I'm looking at 2 pages between our 3 modes, airports, harbors, and highways. And so I'll just maybe choose one from each in the interest of time. For harbors, we submitted, along with some harbor users in partnership, we submitted a $144 million grant to deploy zero emission technology in Honolulu Harbor. This is through EPA's Clean Ports program. So we are hoping that we're successful in that, and that will bring in hydrogen to replace a lot of diesel use happening right now in the harbor. Moving on to highways, we opened the first NEVI, or National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Charging Station in Kahului, and we are currently designing 4 future NEVI sites to be installed in 2025 at Aloha Tower, Princeville Library on Kauai, Mililani Mauka Park and Ride, Hilo Civic Center. And we're expecting much more in the future in terms of NEVI. And then at our airports, we have screened all 15 airports against the against the FEMA National Risk Index, covering 18 natural hazards, and determined the top 8 climate risks to the HDOT airport system. And so all of those 8 top risks have been mapped, and the next steps will be to do a vulnerability assessment, identifying high priority areas and developing adaptation strategy options. And that'll be done this month through September.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Oh, you guys are pretty busy. Thank you so much for the update. Matt, did you have anything you want to provide an update on with respect to City and County of Honolulu?
Sure, a couple of high-level updates. City Council passed 2 ordinances last year, actually. One of them was to make explicit in writing, even though we were already regulating to it. It's now more explicit in local ordinance, the consistency with updates to the special management area that took effect at the state level 2020, I believe. But at that same time, we also passed an update of our local shoreline setback ordinance that actually takes effect July 1st. So the admin rules are being heard this month. So everyone is aware and on notice of those changes upcoming. Similar to Kaina, we're excited, Kauai County and Director Hull, we're excited about our progress on climate adaptation planning and into implementation. So we weren't in attendance at the February meeting, City and County, but since then, City Council has adopted the city's Climate Ready Oahu guidance document, which is our adaptation strategy. And we're excited to have a priority kickoff meeting with Mayor in just about a month's time to really get the departments focused and elevate everyone's awareness on how to incorporate it into their thinking and their work moving forward, in addition to the specific projects and actions. And then lastly, in lockstep with the state and this commission's process, the city and county is also updating our 2020 climate action plan. So we have an ordinance and obligation to develop it. My Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency on behalf of and with departments, stakeholders, et cetera. And we're excited to do that in concert and in parallel with a broader statewide effort over the next year and a half. So that's probably it at this point, but always happy to share out and be a part of this discussion.
Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate the update. Kate from Maui County?
Yeah, so I'm new, so I'm a little underprepared, but what I will say is that, as you know, we are recovering from a climate-based disaster. And so the thing that my department is working on right now in the county overall is how to recover from this disaster with a more resilient Lahaina. So we've of course been working internally on our systems to not just, we have newly adopted shoreline rules, but those have not taken effect yet because the mayor hasn't signed them for myriad reasons. So we're going down that process, but we also want to educate our shoreline property owners about the risks of rebuilding in those places so that they and provide them opportunities to get out of those properties. So through land swap or buyouts and things of that nature. So that's kind of where our heads are at right now, is in recovery mode. It's very exciting to hear what everyone else is up to, and I'm happy to be part of this group because it's giving me all kinds of ideas to take back to our team. So thank you so much.
No, appreciate that. And mahalo for the good work on Lahaina, and you guys are challenged with a lot of issues, but forging ahead. Okay. Zendo from Hawaii Island.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity. Hope everybody's doing well. Mayor's office just finished up their annual sustainability summit, which had a number of workshops over the duration of a month that culminated in an overall day event of a lot of good collaboration and working together on different ideas for sustainability. The general plan process, we've been going under the general review or the overall review of the general plan. We are about to release the planning director's final recommended draft on July 28th. That has an entire section on climate change within it. Continuing to work on our code update, which really incorporates a lot of climate change and the changes that we see happening there as well as trying to increase more density. We are working on our science-based shoreline setbacks. Pretty much got that one squared away, and we'll be moving forward to actually get that into code here, probably beginning of next year. Our CIP process, we've been trying to really incorporate climate planning and resilience within that, trying to get the departments to think about that at a deeper level and how their CIP projects will impact that. I think I mentioned this before, but it's still ongoing. Hawaii County stood up an Office of Sustainability, Climate Equity and Resilience, otherwise known as OSCAR. And that is under the mayor's office to be the glue that holds all of this together. Bethany Morrison, Planner 6 from my office, is heading up that department right now, staffing it and getting everything rolling. So excited about that. And their focus is going to be one, to bring the glue, or kind of be that glue that holds all the departments together, but also implement our climate action plan that we adopted last year. That's our brief update. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sando. Yes, please.
Matt, it's kind of, I just wanted to congratulate you guys on those steps you guys took with the SMA and the shoreline setback ordinance. For Kauai, I'll say we're seeing a new fluctuation, which we anticipated eventually, but hope will never happen, in that under the shoreline setback ordinance, implicit with it, and of course, is for those properties that are entirely within the setback, that insofar as a landowner is willing to locate a dwelling unit as mauka as possible away from the shoreline and shrinks it to about 1,000 or 1,500 square feet, insofar as that entire property is in the shoreline setback, the planning commission is pretty much required to approve it. And for over a decade, everybody thought, the realtor industry, a lot of our land use folks on Kauai thought, oh no, if it's in the setback, you can't build there. And I wasn't gonna open up on this secret, but from a regulatory taking standpoint, allowing at least one unit in this no build zone is pretty much required. And nobody really knew about that until about 2 months ago, when an applicant came in with that shoreline setback entirely encroaching over the property and got their dwelling unit approved. In fact, we saw a lot of shoreline properties that are entirely within the setback, prices get very depressed. We were seeing some half-acre parcels right on the shoreline as low as about $120,000. And it was one of those lots where they realized, wait, we can buy one of these lots, get a variance permit, and now it's worth $2+ million. So the land use industry in Kauai has just woken up to that, and we're getting a lot of inquiries on all these properties that are entirely within the setback, for which will be in the water within the 7 years or the lifespan of a structure, wanting to develop in these structures on these properties. And we're just struggling with it, knowing that this freight train is about to barrel down on us in 2 or 3 years, because they got to have an environmental assessment for all of these. But you do the EA, you hire the attorney, it's pretty much, as long as they don't have a dwelling unit on it, it's pretty much guaranteed. So how we further discuss and address managed retreat or carrots and sticks, but I'm not sure if Oahu's going to be already savvy to that, possibly, but Kauai's turning that tide, unfortunately.
Are you guys ensuring that there's some kind of a disclosure?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we are even requiring that,
Right.
per the conditions of approval, that they remove the structure within X amount of time, or when the shoreline is at the structure, whichever is sooner. So we know at the end of the day, it's going to be a major fight for OCCL, but we're trying to buffer that fight whenever it happens.
Yeah, thank you, Kai, and I appreciate that. So not to get into all the details here, but there are conditions and permissions within the new setback ordinance that actually facilitate a structure, though with other processes within DPP and as agreed upon by the director. But all of these are also SMA major permits, which all also get approved by City Council. So there's the SMA process first, then there's the actual shoreline setback permit, and then any of the subsequent building permits. So it still remains a process and a multi-step process, but that's really helpful to know. And I'm sure your team is connected with Liz Krieger on our side from the Land Use Permits Division that's responsible for enforcing all of this. So if it's not a HCPO topic, maybe it should be.
I mean, you're right. You're gonna run head on with OCCL and Shoreline, and because we've taken some really hard line positions on enforcement. And interesting with these are like conservation district enforcement. They're actually hardening the shoreline whether there's, and so some of the strategies that we've been using, I mean, these have been $1 million enforcement actions. We have given a landowner the options to move their house literally off the property. No, move it off the property.
Oh, okay.
Because we inevitably,
It's going in.
it's gonna go. I mean, they're so close, they don't even, I mean, they don't have any more. So we've had one landowner who actually moved his house off the property, and would you believe the beach came back?
Yeah.
The beach came back. We've got, so through some of our enforcement actions, we've now gotten more compliance. People are actually moving their seawalls. They're moving all their structures, but that's a very interesting situation you've created.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Legally, you guys have come to the conclusion it's a taking if you don't permit them to build.
Insofar as they've shrunk the house to 1,000 square feet and they get as mellow as possible. And the point I was trying to bring up was, wait, we know per the erosion rate, forget about sea level rise, per the erosion rate in one of these cases, in 40 years, the ocean will be at that structure. Within the lifespan of the structure, it will be there. Isn't that grounds enough for denial? And the response from, our legal essentially, and I understand it, is then you've taken away all economic utility of this property. And there's still buildable land that isn't underwater today. So if you're gonna take away all economic utility of the property, then you better be prepared to condemn it.
Interesting.
Sounds like it's time for a new Supreme Court decision.
Well, let's hope we don't challenge that. Let's try to avoid that. But we've taken really hardline positions because there's been legislation to do exactly that, to buy those properties, and we've taken a position that your shoreline, based upon court case law, it changes, and therefore it's not a taking. And
before the shoreline's even at the structure.
Yes, because then yes, even before shoreline's on the structure, your shoreline, if your shoreline is Makai, and there's a set, so the setback moves further back. We do a certified shoreline, and you're now building on state land.
Oh, that's what I'm saying is if the proposed structure of the structure is in state land itself, you guys are able to push them off. But until then, right?
Yeah,
That's
until
what I'm saying.
then,
It is
you're
like
right.
the survey is showing it's still private property. The shoreline is Makai of their property line. They're building in it, but we know in 30 to 40 years, the shoreline is going to be there. And that's really, you gotta let it happen. Just
Buyer beware. Make sure
buyer
you-
beware. And
make
maybe
sure
the
you-
insurance premium game, which is radically changing, will affect that strategy as well.
We have a question from
Oh.
Commissioner Kern.
Oh, Sendo, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. Forgot to mention this while I had it, and I think it's really relevant to this conversation that there's a lot of discussion that needs to occur on these types of topics. And a really good place to do that will be in West Hawaii at the Westin Harpuna for HCPO. Come on out. Hotel rooms are filling up fast, and it'd be a great place to carry on this conversation. Thank you.
That was so well done. That you just moved quite easily into that conversation. Good for you. So, a little pitch from our HCPO sponsor this year. Okay, with that being said, thank you very much. Interesting conversation. Actually, that should be a topic for much broader conversation. This is inevitable. Yes.
Are you guys able to require them to adapt in place on initial build? Like, I know you have the civil rise constraint district, but even for those properties, are you able to require an elevated build so that they're pre-adapted?
Most of them are gonna be in the sea level rise district anyway, which is require the elevation. But when we're talking about coastal erosion, right, elevated or not,
Yeah, I know.
it's Don's property at that point.
We're waiting, yes. We're waiting. All right, thank you. Chair Hurd, do you have any updates you'd like to provide?
Regarding climate change and agriculture, I maybe one thing, and that is a follow-up to the sustainability conference that was held on the Big Island, Mayor Roth. One conclusion that came was very inspiring, and that came from the Kamehameha Schools. I think it was a 9th grade class, a cadre of 14 of them. Their session, they concluded that we are not the future, we are the present. So ask us, if you have a problem about climate change, you have a problem about landfill for another, trash dump, ask us. We have solutions for you. The solution for the new location for the landfill that's being filled up was don't make more trash. I mean, it was insightful, right? So I guess what I'm saying is climate change is a problem for everyone, including the future humans that will be making the decisions. Let's reach out to them as well. But I thought it was pretty inspiring. Yeah.
No, good point. Good point. You'd rather, yes, be inspired rather than be sued. Some of us have been sued. Okay. Ojai isn't here. Is it Nancy? DHHL.
Katie's here, isn't she?
Is Katie here?
Yeah, hi.
Okay, I'm sorry, Katie. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And Nancy probably would have done a better job, but the highlights for our DHHL, especially our planning team, who has been absolutely amazing and working so hard on behalf of our DHHL beneficiaries. So they are currently data gathering and doing community outreach for the Molokai Coastal Homesteads Community Resilience Plan. So the community engagement will continue through 2024, and the plan will be finalized in mid-2025. They're also investigating, or we are also investigating funding opportunities for hazard mitigation planning and implementation statewide. Our staff will be attending the Natural Hazards Workshop in Boulder, Colorado Natural Hazard Center in July. And in fact, our team has been recognized. They received from the American Planning Association an award for excellence and sustainability in recognition of their work for the DHHL's 2022 general plan update for the state and regional awards category. So DHHL is just really focusing on trying to make sure that we are at the table for some of these discussions. Our beneficiaries are part of the general population, but they do need special considerations sometimes, especially where our homesteads are located, which tend to be, especially our older homesteads, tend to be within flood zones and, climate change with rising sea level rise has been foremost of mind for some of our communities. So all of those things DHHL has been working on and continue to work on. And I am aware that some of these discussions are cross agencies. We're working with the counties. We're working with other state agencies. So we appreciate all of your help when we do reach out to you and work with you. So.
Yep. Thank you, Katie. We're all in it together. Appreciate the good work of DHHL taking on and being proactive in this way as well. So thank you. Dawn from, is it Hawai'i? Do you have any updates? Maybe he's, oh, there you go, Don.
Sorry, I don't think my camera can't come on. We're at the NLE. We're doing some of the climate change implications for national security. So I know several of the members were at yesterday's conference, or going over our resilience with all the different partners, the federal, state, and county. So appreciate everybody's involvement as this NLE, or National Level Exercise, progresses into tomorrow and then into Friday. So a lot of the things that we are learning are the existing strategies, policies, and some of the plans that the different jurisdictions have, as well as the different regions, and also implications for healthcare and other industries that we don't normally they don't normally participate in. And then we have some of the nonprofits here too, as well as other individuals that also are looking at the climate change and some of the sea level rise impacts that will be coming in the near future. So yeah, the administrator wants to share that with you folks.
Great. Thank you so much, Don. And then I think the last is Mark Glick. Any updates you have?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I do have a pretty interesting update. It's basically a interim report on where we stand on one of the governor's priorities, an analysis of our entire fuel inventory and preparation of an updated energy strategy. And just to sort of give you a little background, what we've analyzed, and this came out of the decarbonization study as well, is that Hawaii stands near the bottom of all states in terms of its intensity of carbon outputs. Only Puerto Rico is behind Oahu in that regard for power production. And that's because Hawaii continues to be the only state in the United States that, and among all the electric regions within the United States, that use petroleum as the primary power source for electricity generation. So what we've done is we've looked very deeply at what are the impacts of that, knowing full well that the Public Utilities Commission is required to explicitly consider quantitatively or qualitatively the effect of the state's reliance on fossil fuels for price volatility, which is really important to us, and reducing costs and making things more affordable, the export of funds for fuel imports, fuel supply reliability risk, which we're concerned about as an island, and of course, relative to this discussion today, life cycle greenhouse gas emissions, according to HRS 269-4 or -6. So because of all of that, we've been looking really hard at what's causing that, and it's the low sulfur fuel oil that we use as our primary power generation source. We're trying to back out that through renewables at the most accelerated pace that we can. The governor's looking at ways to even accelerate that pace even more. And we're also analyzing, and should have those results, I think, to be publicly available. We've already provided some briefings to the governor already, but I'd say by the end of July, we'll have publishable reports of that, which show a lot of lower carbon intensity opportunities that we can do that might even be able to save money while we make really greater contributions to reduce our carbon input. So, and move that towards the end game of moving to very, very low carbon, green hydrogen, green ammonia resources at the end of the day. So we hope to have more on that, but so far we've made great progress on that. And we think we'll be able to, lay out, I think, a pretty interesting plan that can help reduce our carbon impact profoundly, maybe by as much as 50% over the low sulfur fuel oil that we're currently using. More on that later.
Okay, thank you, Mark. This is, did I miss anybody who'd like to provide an update? Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, item 5, which is kind of a nice segue based upon all of our updates. Mary Alice and I, in meeting with Leah, have been talking about, there's just a lot of activity going on with climate mitigation, the Maui recovery has really kind of set us in pace. So we had a meeting with the governor and we asked him if he would consider the year 2025 as being the year of climate action. And so that we would really dedicate a lot of our resources, showcase what we're doing, what more we need to do. And he said we were the only person who came in at this time. So we got it. So FY25 is going to be year of climate action. So based upon that, and we have been seeing, I think Climate Commission, we see this as an opportunity. We've got all the right people here in this group. We've got, all the counties, we've got the right departments, key legislators that as a consequence of this heightened interest in climate action, and we think that there'll be legislation to accompany a lot of that, including, perhaps a green fee or some other kinds of measure like that. So I think the recommendation is that the CCMAC meet on a regular basis, meet every month, rather than we've been meeting quarterly. So wanting to meet every month, talk about collective legislation, that there is an opportunity for us, a lot of legislation, rather than, I think there's things that we can do together to support one another. And so looking at having more frequent updates, having the CCMAC also take some leadership role in this year of climate action. How can we showcase all what the counties are doing, what the state is doing? So that's the recommendation, is that we meet rather than on a quarterly basis, but we meet on a monthly basis. Any comments about that? Questions, concerns, or your thoughts? Any objections to that? Are you guys okay with meeting once a month? And we can do this hybrid, although I love to see kind of when he comes here. And then we've got Kate here too. So,
Chair,
are you guys
a
comfortable?
question.
Yes, Matt.
As these are quarterly, they tend to be longer. Would the assumption and expectation of a monthly meeting still be a similar time hold?
I'm hoping that we'll see, because you're right. We set this aside from 1 to 5, although we've generally held our meetings for about 3 hours. But maybe there will be even subcommittees where we'll do assignments and we're just reporting back. So I think at the beginning, let's look at maybe monthly for a 3-hour meeting. And if it gets shorter, that's great. If it gets longer, but I think if we're really trying to boost up and have a strategic plan for climate action, we may need the additional time. So let's move. We'll try to anticipate it will be 3-hour meetings once a month. Any objections to that? Objections, concerns? And again, we'll continue to hold it hybrid like this. So we can participate via Zoom or in person, and it will be here.
Chair, one suggestion.
Yes.
Agencies may want to consider having a second delegate if
Yes,
they're,
yes.
if they're being delegated, just to make sure we can make quorum.
Excellent. That's a really good point, and I appreciate that. So yes, we would urge all of you, spread the wealth, assign, delegate others in your place if you're not able to attend. Because we have such a large group, quorum is 11, right? Is that 11?
Correct.
So it does. Yep. Zendo, your hand was up. Oh, I see Zendo and then Katie.
Yeah, it was similar to Matt's question on time duration.
Yeah,
I got commissions galore, but yeah, we'll do our
Sure.
very best, and I'll get a delegate as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
No, appreciate that. Katie?
I was wondering, would they remain, Wednesdays have been the day of choice, so would they remain on Wednesdays, generally speaking, or is that up in the air? Only because myself and then the natural, second delegator, or who we would pick as a second delegation is Nancy, but we tend to both be at like our commission meetings, which happen every third Monday and Tuesday generally of the month. So I just want to make sure that if it remains on Wednesdays, then that would be great, at least for DHHL.
Yeah. I mean, any objections? If Wednesdays, people seems to have set aside this time. So is this the first Wednesday? So we'll continue to try to do that. First Monday will be efficient. First Wednesday. It's been a long week.
Yeah. And thank you for the question, Katie, because that was exactly what I was going to ask. If the first Wednesdays do work for everybody generally. I mean, obviously there'll be some conflicts that come up. Great.
Okay, seeing no objections, we're going to go to monthly meetings. We'll try to get the agendas out to all of you, and we'll try to run the meetings very efficiently. All right. And are you all, any comments about year of climate action? Nope. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Onward.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay. Item number 6 is presentation of statewide climate and health vulnerability assessment. Diana?
That's me. All right, great. Leia's bringing up. Am I in an okay place to present things?
Yeah, you might be better here, but you're fine there too.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, everybody. I've met most of you. I'm Diana Felton. I'm the designee for Director Fink from the Department of Health. I'm also an emergency physician and medical toxicologist and quite passionate about climate change and health. So I want to share with you today briefly what we're calling the Climate Change and Health Vulnerability Assessment for Hawaii. This is really, we're looking as a baseline assessment of what our climate risks are related to health and public health here in Hawaii based on Hawaii data. I want to give a lot of credit to James McCallan, who is our Climate Change and Health Coordinator, who's on the call. He's really the driver of this assessment. And I think you'll find it's really quite a remarkable new report, and I hope helpful for everyone. Just our usual reminder that climate change is a health crisis, and our consistent effort from DOH to really push health as part of these discussions on climate change. Next slide. Many of you have probably seen this. We call it the pinwheel of doom. This is our sort of basic assessment of climate impacts in Hawaii and what human health effects we expect to see from them. It is sort of ever evolving as we learn more things about what's projected in the future. But one of the things I really want to point out is that sort of hot pink circle around with the mental health impacts that are really impacted by all of the different both climate effects and their health consequences. And the vulnerability assessment, which I'm going to talk about today, really takes each of these different colored categories and goes into more detail about what we know about them here in Hawaii and starting to think about what some of the data gaps are. Go ahead, next slide. So the vulnerability assessment is really part of the first step of CDC's BRACE framework. We'll talk more about BRACE in a minute, but BRACE stands for Building Resilience Against Climate Effects. It's the name of CDC's initial climate and health funding program. We are not BRACE grantees here in Hawaii. There's only 16 in the country, hoping to expand in the future, but they did develop a framework for state and local health departments to start thinking about climate and health. And the first, as I think makes sense, is to understand what your risks are, what the problems are. So that's really what this vulnerability assessment is designed to do. And it's really sort of the foundation of our very small but ever expanding climate and health program at DOH. We've decided to create this vulnerability assessment as a living dynamic story map rather than an individually distributed report. And the main reason for that is that things are changing so rapidly. We have some pretty good models from some of the other states who have been doing this for a long time. And that was really one of their biggest recommendations, is that as soon as they put out a report, things would change. So we've decided to do it as an online story map that can be updated as soon as new information comes in. The link is here below, and I'll show some more evidence of that in a moment. Go ahead to the next slide. So this is just a touch about BRACE. Again, this is the CDC's recommendations for state and local health departments on how to start thinking about addressing these issues. And step number 1 is forecasting your climate impacts and assessing vulnerabilities. So I think, based on so much good work done here in Hawaii, we already have a good sense of what our climate impacts are likely to be. And it's really about linking that with the health vulnerabilities and then moving into number 2, the projecting disease burden. I think it's important to know that this vulnerability assessment doesn't begin to get into solutions. That's been some of the criticism we've had so far, but that's really, we feel like we need to understand the scope of the problem before we can start thinking about solutions, although there is going to shortly be a new revision of the brace framework, and it's going to put things much more in parallel rather than in series. And we have taken that to heart and are starting to think about some of these additional steps for some of the topics. Go ahead to the next. So a little bit more about this vulnerability assessment. It reviews the anticipated human health impacts of climate change, really based on that pinwheel graphic. And we tried to look particularly at 3 specific categories: the health risks, the social outcomes, and particular factors that would make an individual or a community more vulnerable. We've included Hawaii-based data, and that's really, we think the utility of this is it really looks at Hawaii specifically and is not relying on information for different kinds of climates in different places. And it starts to begin to identify data gaps, although one of the next steps we're looking at is really to dive into what the data gaps are and how we can start to address those. And it really aims to understand the challenges, as I mentioned, and also sort of start to pave the way for that, for resilience, for strengthening of our public health systems, and particularly for preventing morbidity and mortality in the face of our changing climate. Go ahead to the next slide. So this is the landing page, and actually this is a video that we'll sort of start to scroll through. Leah, if you don't mind hitting one more button, it should play. So, you know, very happy about the way that this came out looking, sort of goes through an abstract, the pinwheel, which is sort of our basics. It has a table of contents that will loop directly to the different categories of climate impacts and health impacts. We talk a little bit about BRACE because of it being the foundation, linked to our climate and health webpage, and talks about some of the things. So as we move forward, here's the first chapter into air pollution. And you can see as the boxes come up, it starts to define what are the expected health outcomes, social outcomes, and vulnerability factors. And then each section is really what I refer to as a review article, including at the bottom, we have the ability to open or close the references. Everything's referenced pretty carefully. And there's also a section for acknowledgements. We've had pretty extensive review from subject matter experts, both within the state and without, in particular, the University of Arizona West EJ Center provided really extensive review and supplementation. So we're very grateful to all of our expert reviewers, but we're still seeking input. So if anyone reads through and has additional data sources, additional information, or questions, we'd really appreciate it. In particular, you know, we have written this from a public health perspective. We've tried to make it as low jargon as possible, but if there's anything that doesn't make sense or needs revision to be more clear for all audiences, we'd really appreciate it. And then Leah, if you want to go ahead to the next one, I just wanted to show one more section, and you can hit play on that one. Thank you. This is the chapter, one of the chapters I like the best on the risk of invasive vectors. And thinking about some of the infectious diseases that may come along. And one of the parts that we've been able to put together, thanks to James's excellent research and help from our vector control branch, is sort of this timeline of the introduction of different types of mosquitoes in Hawaii. I think it's easy to forget in some ways that mosquitoes were introduced like many other organisms. And while we don't have the malaria carrying mosquito endemic here in Hawaii, we do have the dengue, Zika, and chikungunya carrying mosquito, and really need to consider what changes in the climate will do to mosquito, to different mosquitoes and where they are in the environment. So this kind of, again, goes through as much as we know about this topic in Hawaii, and hopefully will lead to further information, conversation, and assessment of risk. So we can go ahead to the next slide. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to take any questions. Please take a look. Let us know. We love feedback. And again, I really just want to credit James with the incredible work that he did putting this all together and finding the different subject matter experts to contribute. And it's really, I think, a great place for us to start when we think about moving forward in preventing these illnesses and injuries.
Great. Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dan. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments for Diana? Are you going to be distributing this, or how are you distributing this particularly to the communities?
Yes, that is a great question. We have started so far with sort of the presentation of this in this kind of environment, trying to sort of get feedback and get it to a place where we like it. And then we're hoping to move forward with sort of a broader distribution. It's a lot of information for our director to review as well and finalize. So we're in those final stages, but hoping to be able to spread the link around.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. Yeah, I think sometimes too often we don't associate climate related to health, and so this is really critical. I know at DLNR, for us, the impacts of, in particular, mosquitoes they are now with the rising temperatures, mosquitoes are going to higher elevations that have been home to some of our most protected birds. And so they've had an impact on our endangered birds as well. So, I mean, I think we have yet to begin to really appreciate the extent of the impacts of climate change in the real world. But we also see that there is a lot of misinformation. So if we can get good, accurate information out, that would really help to at least to create the space for people to be well informed. Yep. Okay. Anything else? Appreciate the presentation. Anybody here? Okay. So we can get it on your website, or you're still working on?
We'll put the presentation on our website,
Okay.
and we'll make sure to get the link to everybody.
That's great. No, thank you so much, Diana. The next item on our agenda is supposed to have been a presentation from our CCMAC Permitted Interaction Group, which was being led by Mary Alice. But we are going to defer that to the next time because Mary Alice isn't here. So with that, the next item on our agenda is item 8, update on the Environmental Protection Agency Climate Pollution Reduction Grant awarded to CCMAC for climate action planning. It's a non-action item.
So I think Udi's on and he will give a presentation.
Okay. There you go.
Aloha mai kako.
Aloha.
Aloha, great to be here. So yeah, I'm going to share a little bit about where we're at with the EPA grant and the Climate Action Plan. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Udi Mandel. I'm the Climate Action Program Manager, working with you there at the Commission, and also with all the counties, like Matt was saying. We're trying to create this climate action plan in concert, as so many of the counties are also doing that kind of work. So let me just share my screen. Oh, I think I need a sharing screen permission from someone.
Yes, so you do. Sorry about that, Udi.
Right.
All right, you should be good to go.
Nice. Okay, can you all see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, all good. Okay, great. So yeah, so really excited to be part of this this process, this team. There's a number of us. Some of us are here as well, like Leah already introduced us. But just to give it obviously a little bit of context, you're very familiar with this. This was taken from the greenhouse gas emission inventory that the Department of Health did. So nice to be following on from the presentation from them. But just to give a sense of where we need to get to. I know this is probably a little bit small for this, so but you can see where the curve is going and where we're at, and we're still quite a way from it. And just to say, you know, with the numbers that we're getting from this inventory, with the projected business as usual, we're nowhere near there. the other slide I wanted to show is that the really great work that the inventory has done is to catalog very specifically from all of the different sectors in Hawaii where the emissions are, where the carbon emissions are. And again, I don't expect you to see the numbers in this next stage, but to say that we have them, and please look at the inventory that the Department of Health produced. But this is just as a segue to say that the data that we have is quite specific to subsectors as well. So not just, for example, not just transportation, but also disaggregating between what's ground transportation, what's marine, what's aviation, also what's military aviation. So there's a lot of detail that we have in the inventory. Because and the importance of sharing this at this stage is that the work that we are doing in developing a climate action plan is to then go to the different sectors and looking at these targets and seeing, well, where can we implement policies, or what kind of actions do we need in each sector to get to the zero emissions target that we all are going for. So on that note, then we got the this EPA grant in 2003. We developed the Priority Climate Action Plan, and this was in concert with the counties that we developed, and we put out a request for information for projects to see what will be the priority actions that can be implemented across the state that are ready to go. And so we through that, we had, I think it was 17 different projects or initiatives, or as the EPA calls them, measures that we selected and included in the Priority Climate Action Plan, which was released in March, and it's available on the Commission website. And this was also as a setting up to apply for the EPA for funds to implement those measures. Either partially fund or in some cases fund more completely those actions, and that was submitted in April through those projects that were selected. So we're still waiting for the results of that, but the results should be coming in a couple of months, in July sometime. We are confident that we're going to get through, and those projects will be funded. There's a whole range of really exciting projects across all sectors, and then across different counties as well. And then we're now in the stage of developing the Climate Action Plan. And then just to say that throughout this process, we also have a team of public or community engagement that's been working across the different counties, across the different islands, and also we are working closely with city and county in Honolulu. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about this process of how we are developing the Climate Action Plan. And just to say that the timeline for this is that we're working on this now. We are going to be convening what we're calling the technical working groups in the coming months to start meeting in September. Some of you may have been part of this process a few months ago, but we are reactivating that specifically for the Climate Action Plan. And the vision of the Climate Action Plan is to go beyond what was the Priority Action Plan, which was more specific, as they call, shovel-ready actions that we could be taking at the state, but to make a more holistic and medium and long-term plan for how we can get to net zero. So it's much more comprehensive, and it's much more holistic, taking all of the sectors and seeing what is needed in each of the sectors. And the timeline for this is to submit it to the EPA by next summer in July. And all through this process, the public and community engagement team has also been working across the counties and connecting with the public across a number of events, and also trying to see what are their priorities and what would they like to have included in this plan. So these are the different ways that we are working and making this a more co-designed process of creating this plan. We have the technical working groups, which I'll speak a little bit more about. These are thematic groups across the different sectors, and we're going to meet about 3 or 4 times between now and when we finish the final version of this early next year. and the idea is to suggest policy actions at the level of state. Also, we're collaborating with the county, so we're seeing where state and county could support each other, but also in terms of what actions people or HANA or communities might be able to do to get to net zero. We also have this grants to project bridge through the Commission's website. You can access that, but the idea there is how we can provide support for different projects that are also seeking, and within the sphere of climate action, that are seeking support and funds. And we're seeing about how we can also include some case studies of great projects within the climate action plan as a kind of exemplary actions within specific sectors too. I already talked about the public engagement side of how we are connecting with different communities and different spaces to see what people's experiences of climate change and the impacts on their lives, and also what suggestions they have for actions. And lastly, we have a online section on the website for people to submit comments and ideas, and that we'll be analyzing this and also trying to see how we can include this in the climate action plan in the coming months. So I wanted to just connect here how we are doing these technical working groups, which are disaggregated according to the different sectors that I shared before in that table, and also how they match up with the Commission's own strategies, which can be seen on the website. So on the left-hand side there on the column, you can see the priorities of the Commission itself. So you can see walkable communities, improved transportation options, vehicle electrification, regenerative agriculture, nature-based solutions, protecting natural lands, green renewable energy, energy incentives, energy efficiency, waste prevention, circular economics, and also more broadly, community engagement and environmental justice. And then on the right side, these are the actual technical working groups that were either convened historically, or we will be connecting with or facilitating ourselves in some cases for developing the climate action plan. The ones that are in red are ones which are either state mandated, happening elsewhere. So for example, there's a sustainable fuels working group that's being state mandated. There's other working groups working on aviation, on marine transportation, decarbonization of electrical vehicles, on vehicle miles traveled and land use. There's one on wetlands, and also on wastewater. So where there are already working groups, the idea is that we'll be kind of connecting with them somehow and tapping into that work and participating in that, but we're not going to be replicating that for this. So the idea of this is how do we make the whole process more efficient and not duplicate efforts. And this is also the case. We've been connecting with city and county to see the different working groups and processes that they've been developing and how we can be supporting each other and making the best use of everybody's time. But the ones that we are convening in the black font there, so you can see farming, ranching, and food systems decarbonization, something on forestry and urban forestry, also on decarbonization of electricity and combustion, of industry, decarbonization of industry, something on buildings and energy efficiency. There'll be a working group on waste and material management. There's another one we're convening on the circular and well-being economy. And then there's some other aspects that are really important also for the climate action plan, and there's also EPA requirement around LIDAC communities and environmental justice, and the workforce. And also there's a few others that we thought were also key important sections to have in our climate action plan. One is around youth and education. So we're going to be connecting there with lots of youth groups and people working within this field, and also within the education department, and see what important things could be also be suggested in this climate action plan. And the other one, which is I didn't put here, but is also key, obviously, in the case of Hawaii, is thinking about the impacts of tourism on the state, and what possible climate action policies or other suggestions that we can also be adding to this plan. So we'll be connecting with you folks there from the tourism department. And this is also to say at this stage that we really want to be collaborating more directly with you all from the different agencies that are really at the grassroots or at the really implementing these kinds of actions. And so we want to understand more, where is there a possible climate action in relation to policy or a process that will be really important and tangible within the different agencies. So we're going to be connecting with you all in the coming weeks and seeking your help to really identify who will be the important people to be part of this technical working group process, and having more in-depth conversations about what suggestions that these people have, or a particular team or department has, that could find its way into this climate action plan. So I think that's all I have. Leigh, I don't know if you wanted to add more to this, how we want to be engaging more with the different agencies, but thank you all for your time. And yeah, any questions, I'm happy to answer to.
Thanks so much, Udi. First, I just need to take a pause and give a huge shout out to HSCO. I think the first two graphs that Udi showed were actually from the decarbonization strategy. So we're able to kind of do a lot of progress and quick movement on this because of all the work that HSCO did on the decarbonization strategy and all the counties did on their various climate action plans. So we're really taking the time to build off those. So again, we're not, repeating work and really just hoping to advance those, bring them together. Also need to give them a huge mahalo because they're the folks that organized and did a lot of work for the priority climate action plan, but also submitted the grant for the implementation funds. I don't think Udi mentioned how much that was, but that's $50 million. So it was a really big grant opportunity. It was a lot of work. We really tried to be equitable and open that opportunity up to a lot of folks. We have both community, county, and state partners on that grant. So we're really excited to hear back from that. And after Udi and I were just at a conference with other states that are doing the similar process, and it seemed like we would be very competitive with that grant. So we're feeling quite optimistic about it. But yeah, with the technical working groups, I think this really feeds into this 2025 year of climate action. What we really want to do is be able to, not just speak with you folks because you are all amazing and we love you, but also the implementers, the engineers, the on the ground staff that are taking the actions, because we want this plan to come from them. We don't want another high level, planning document that, is not based in reality. And we want to be really realistic and thoughtful. Yes, we want to be aspirational, but we don't want to create a document that's going to sit on a shelf. We want to be able to find out where are the gaps, what support needs to be provided, what training needs to be provided, so that we can actually, make these goals achievable. Because in the direction we're going right now, we're not on the pathway to meet our 2045 goals.
Yeah.
So we just appreciate all the support and help from you folks in identifying who those right people are. We're going to be very, very conscientious of folks' time. Everyone is overloaded and very busy, and we don't want to take up too much time. So we're going to try to do a lot of the work on the front end and just kind of, do gut checks, and try to reduce the amount of time that we're asking of people. So we won't be having, that's why we're keeping things kind of quite siloed. Unless we need to take things out, because we don't want, someone to sit in a meeting about wastewater when their, speciality is, other solid waste. So we're trying to be very thoughtful in timing, and can, speak to each of you as your interest entails, but we will be reaching out and trying to set up those meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Udi. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions? I mean, I would urge, what I find missing in a lot of our conversations is the cultural component. It's not integrating indigenous knowledge is part of the discussion. I mean, those communities have lived here a lot longer than we all have. So I would urge you on your working group for especially nature-based and protecting that you are incorporating INA-based stakeholders who are actually doing projects, subsistence, those kinds of activities, that we do incorporate those voices as part of the process. Okay. Yes, Udi.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, and thanks for pointing that out. And yeah, completely agree, both in the land use, and also I think one thing to congratulate the commission for doing is having the foresight to also include this piece about the circular economy as a strategy, because there's also ways of incorporating those voices and projects through that. Some people talk about the ancient circular economy too. So there's other ways of acknowledging other practices and thinking about managing land, and also about thinking about economy in a different way. That I think that working group opens up that possibility. So that's one group that we're excited about, seeing how those two can also be connected somehow, the ancient and the modern circular economy.
Yeah, we talk about integrated indigenous knowledge with science base, and they're not necessarily so far apart. They just come from different approaches. So I see two hands up, Monique and then Nancy. Monique?
Hi, thank you, everyone. Monique Schaefer, the Hawaii State Energy Office, and have been working closely with Leah and Udi on all of this. And I think, as we think about 2025 as the year of climate action, and just given the fact that so many of us are stretched very thin, and utilizing resources appropriately, one thing I do want to throw out there, and there is natural overlap between adaptation and mitigation. So adapting to the climate impacts we're already seeing on our land and our natural resources. But I think there is a separation that we need to give credit to between mitigation and adaptation, to maybe prioritize, not every single, our office is very focused on mitigation and mitigating greenhouse gas emissions, and that's very much our priority. And of course, we consider resilience and sea level rise, et cetera, when we're doing our planning, but it's certainly not necessarily our core focus. So, as we think about these monthly meetings, if there are meetings dedicated towards the mitigation side and, even the adaptation side, I think there is a natural kind of separation to consider, and something I just want to float and recommend. And also, I think we did a lot of work on the decarbonization strategy, and I really do see that as the foundation for this work. So I really do hope you guys use it heavily.
Thank you, Monique. I greatly appreciate the support of your office as well. I saw Nancy, your hand
Hi.
was up. Yes.
Mahalo, Chair. But there's planning and then there's implementation, I think, as we all know. And for DHHL, I think it's really a matter of I don't want to say turning the oil tanker, but turning a very large va'akaulua is how I'd put it. And, our beneficiaries a lot of times are ahead of us, and we learn so much from them. They're already doing a lot of these things, and we're playing catch up. So I would really encourage, I know Leah and we've talked a lot, and of course I would want to be in, all the, pretty much all the technical working groups, but especially community engagement and EJ, wetlands, farming, ranching, and food system, decarbonization. We're also dealing with wastewater. But, like I said, our beneficiaries are ahead of us. As a state agency, we have a lot of limitations. I think we all know that. But we really would appreciate the support of this commission in turning the Va'akaulua to be more sustainable in the way that we develop our homestead lands. I just wanted to say that.
No, thank you for that, Nancy. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Any other comments?
I'm sorry, I had
Commissioners?
one thing to add. And
Yeah.
that one reason we're winning awards for our plans is because we are incorporating traditional ecological knowledge. We are interviewing our kupuna and our cultural practitioners, and we are trying to merge Western science with, deeply rooted sense of place and cultural knowledge. And so, I'm happy to share any information with you folks as you work on this climate action plan with the work that we're doing. So mahalo, e kalamai.
Yeah. And Nancy, this will be a kako effort. We'll all work on this together. I think if we've learned anything from Lahaina, there's a disproportionate impact to our communities who can lease, and in many cases, they are Native Hawaiian communities, our rural communities who are getting disproportionately impacted by climate change, and who in many cases can't take advantage of some of the technical, whether it's solar or some of these other kinds of EV. So how do we bring them along? So I welcome the opportunity to hear from DHHL and your beneficiaries, the kinds of things that you guys are doing as well. So, I do think for us to make this a broad, that we're going to move everybody together, we've got to involve everybody in this conversation. So I'm hoping from now until next year, we are really trying to find opportunities to engage that community in this process. And I notice OHA is participating. Stacy Ferreira is committed to sitting on on our climate commission. So I think today was FestPac, so that's why she may not be here today, but we'll make sure we keep her engaged as well. So any other comments or questions regarding the climate action plan? Thank you very much, Udi, for your presentation. Last item on the agenda, coordinators update. Leah?
Yes, thank you. We jammed through this agenda. It's been great. I don't have much to share, but I do want to share with you folks our Climate Smart Assistance Program. We closed an RFP just at the beginning of May. So we've been jamming to try and get all the funds encumbered, as you folks are all too familiar with the state. But it was really exciting because we had 11 applicants. And we awarded 8 projects, about $850,000 total. Our position has been filled, so we actually have someone helping with this. And just anticipating the need for additional funding for FY25. Obviously, we weren't able to fund all of the projects that applied, and there was a lot of interest after the fact. This program, just to remind you folks, is really targeted at land managers who might not have the technical ability to go after federal funding. So we're trying to create this program to implement carbon smart practices on natural and working lands, so that we can increase productivity, enhance resilience, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and enhance the achievement of our food security goals. And we're also coordinating this effort with UH's Carbon Smart Commodities program. Really closely, we're working hand in hand with them so that we are trying to catch as many people as possible that might fall through the gaps of getting this type of funding. And we're really excited about the diversity of projects that are coming through.
Can you name some of them? I was really impressed with, as you say, the diversity of applicants and the awardees.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, and this is maybe cheating a little bit because we didn't have any ranchers apply this time around, but from our last year we did, and we're still in the process of contracting. We have Ranch on Molokai who applied to do some silvo pasture species removal. We have projects on Hawaii Island looking at doing some projects to give out plants to folks, to do some outplanting of native tree species. Oh God, my mind's got totally blank. We have folks on Oahu that are looking at producing compost using mushrooms. So we have like some really cool innovative projects. A lot is, you know, invasive species removal, building fences against ungulates, doing tree planting, and those various types of initiatives. So we're excited. I can give more details if folks are interested. And we will definitely be putting together a press release once we get through this jamming of getting all the funds encumbered. And then next we have Amy to talk about our Punaluu community outplanting.
So this was part of our long-term feasibility assessment that we've been doing for nature-based alternatives at Punaluu Beach Park to both preserve the park and to protect the Kamehameha Highway. We did, as a sideline, and we'll be reporting out at a near future meeting on the outcomes of that actual feasibility report from C Engineering. But because we have not been able to yet present it to the community due to the heavy rains in May, their community association meeting was canceled when we were going to go and talk to them because of road flooding. So we'll be presenting to them in July about the findings, and then we'll be able to kind of really finalize that report of the proposed alternatives plus what the community's reaction to those is. But as part of that overall long-term project, if you recall, when presenting to the community quite some time ago, they looked at the timeline and understood that in addition to the engineering studies and the feasibility reports and any follow-on environmental assessments and planning processes, that we were looking at something taking years to actually get any action taken, and asked if there was anything we could do in the meantime. And it took us, what, like 6-8 months maybe to actually get to doing this community planting event. But we did on March 9th, we had about 75 community volunteers that came out, and about 10 staff between the Climate Commission and Sea Grant and OCCL that were all out to assist with putting this on. We planted almost 600 plants in 5 locations across the Punaluu Beach Park, and it was a great day. It was like one of the most, it was a wonderful day, wasn't it? It was so fun. It was so great. So yeah, we had 75 people. We cleared sand out of the drainage culvert that was blocking up the agricultural land on the Mauka side of the highway to, at least for a short time, allow that to flow. And then we reused that sand very nearby to fill in a couple of puka, and then we're able to plant more there. 3 cubic yards of sand does not sound like a lot, but when you're moving it with 5-gallon buckets and wheelbarrows, thank goodness we had one of our community members brought like 25 young basketball players as a girls basketball team who came, and they had endless energy. So they were all into moving the sand. That was really wonderful. And like I said, it was really just a great day. The plants are thriving in almost all of the locations. We have, there's not a lot of space there. So, you know, one of the first tenets of doing a dune restoration is to plant as far Mauka as possible, away from the upper reach of the high wash of the waves. Punaluu Beach Park, there's not a whole lot of space that's away from the upper reach of the high wash of the waves. So we did what we could. And the community sends pictures twice a week, probably, of the different sites, of just keeping us up to date on how it's going. So I really felt like one of the biggest wins out of this, regardless of, the plants are actually doing great, which is a good sign in itself.
Before and afters.
And hopefully,
this is during planting in the middle here, and then this is an after.
That's
Oh, that is an
awesome.
after there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Was just the community building that happened that day, and people became really invested in the park as a result of the planning process of doing this. We identified that people had misunderstood and thought they weren't even allowed to pick up garbage in the park because of DPR rules, which by having representatives from Parks and Rec with us on this project, they were able to say, oh no, absolutely, you can take care of the park. And it was, it's really hopefully going to help to hold some of the sand in place And as soon as we got plants in the ground, the community was asking us like, okay, when can we rip up the rest of this invasive grass and plant the rest of the park out? So yeah, that's where we stand with that now. And like I said, in July, we'll be presenting the sort of engineering alternatives that C Engineering came up with in that feasibility assessment to get the final community feedback on that, to be able to incorporate in and then report all the results of that out as well.
That's
It
awesome.
was hard work, but a super fun day. And the plants just came from, we had to source plants both from Oahu and from Maui because they were plants that were not available on Oahu that we got from Maui Native Nurseries.
But that's awesome. Pictures mean so much more.
Yes.
They say a lot, but
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And it was really great.
Yeah, no, thank you. It brings to my mind, DOT is doing at Ka'ava Beach, a mitigation effort. And that Kamehameha Highway is the only way in and out. And so it was the community, DOT did a lot of good work. Laura and her team did a lot of good work with the Ka'ava residents who, it was their recommendation to do this mitigation plan, which for some could mean beach hardening, but the choice between, do we lose the highway? And so I think we do, there are different interests, right? Sometimes do you save a private home or are we saving a thoroughfare, a public highway? So, but that was, the presentation was well done. So the communities all along this stretch have been really engaged in a lot of that DOT efforts. So thank you for reporting on this and your efforts in meeting with them.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, since you brought up, I also been engaged with the Ka'ava school and working with DOT highways. We did a very small plot at the beach park there where the students, the kindergarten through third graders, did a beach planting day also. It was the culmination of their STEM curriculum from the year where they learned about coastal erosion because it's literally right in front of their school. And we had a really fun day planting with them also.
Excellent.
And the commission supported.
And the commission supported that. And it's that one is very squeezed in. There was not a lot of room or options of where to put the plants there in the park, especially when the other thing is we did also work with the community at the beach parks to identify the places where we would have the least impact on existing uses of the park as well. So that it's not those remaining grassy areas where people have to put up tents, but trying to show that we can restore the park and balance those uses and, clean up the water. And this is all adjacent to that lot that Dawn was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Where the beach is beautiful and recovered.
So we're urging that
Now
landowner.
that the house is gone.
Yeah, now that the house is gone. So we're urging the landowner to donate the land to the city and county and get a tax deduction. What a win, right? What a great win. What a great win.
Too.
Yeah. All right. If there's no other business, do we have any other announcements? Our next meeting?
Well, it wasn't.
I'm sorry, you weren't through. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to welcome, I don't know where Jonathan went, but welcome 2 more CC Max staff. Jen is online. Jen, are you there? Jennifer Vandervoort is our grant specialist and has been really working on the grants to projects bridge that Udi was mentioning before. And this is really our way to categorize all the different actual implementation actions and connect them to various funding sources. So what we have done to populate that is kind of comb through a lot of different state and county plans. So it's primarily right now focused on mobility, like bike ped plans that city and counties have put together, as well as the state, as well as looking at the various CIP requests from DLNR. We're really hoping to expand that. Jen has had the opportunity to meet with a lot of community groups. So we're basically taking what we did for the PCAP and continuing that going so that we can both, help to find funding for groups and also kind of play matchmaker for people that want to do similar projects so that we can leverage those resources and hopefully, perpetuate more climate action. And then we have Jonathan Lance, who is our climate equity specialist. He just started 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, about a month ago. So yeah, he's going to be working really closely with various groups on looking at the equity of various climate actions. So I'm sure he'll be working with you and looking at climate and health. And yeah, I'm really excited. Anything you want to add, Jennifer and or Jonathan?
Just really excited to be here and learn from all you amazing people doing incredible work and hopefully bring a lot of money to the state for climate mitigation work.
Yeah, I'll second what Jen said.
Yeah. Okay, now I am Pow.
Okay. Pardon?
Oh.
Oh, yes,
I
please.
just want to vouch for Jen. I've had years of working with her on Maui County, and I am so happy to see that she's with the Climate Commission. Hi, nice to see you, Jen.
Likewise, I was like, oh, I know who I'm gonna bug as soon as she gets back to the office.
Yeah, call me anytime. You know.
It's a very small community.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very, how would I say, ancestral. We just go from one agency to the next. Recycle, you know. Right, yeah.
Nancy, have you had a question?
Oh, I just wanted to also put in a good word for Lance. He's or Jonathan rather. I keep wanting to call him Lance for some reason, but Jonathan. You know, he is part Hawaiian, and you know, and we had a wonderful meeting, and I just think there's a lot of potential. He's a very intelligent young man. I'm really looking forward to working with him.
Great.
Thanks for the kind words.
That's wonderful to have all those people vouching for you. So good work. So anything else? Do you have any commissioners who have anything else that you want to add or questions? If not, the next meeting, if we schedule it next month, what would that be?
July 3rd.
July 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you can put that on your calendars at this time, July 3rd, and we'll go from 1, we'll start at 1. I mean, we schedule this from 1 to 5 and it's 2:50.
Read through. So we will do 1 to 4 next time, because we said 3 hours. I will be sending invites to you all, so you will have it on your calendars. No need to make it independent.
Excellent. So with that being said, I am going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for making this we got quorum, we were able to do business, and Zendo even got in a little plug for HCPL.
Look forward to seeing you all there. Bye.
Hello, everybody.
All right, everybody. Aloha.
We're already registered,
Aloha.
Zendo. 6 of us are coming, so. Yay.